Yugioh player plays 100 hours of Magic the Gathering. It's actually over 200 hours at the time of recording, right? And it's 100 something hours in the past week alone, since Final Fantasy dropped in Arena. A good chunk of those hours were just spent AFK on the client while I just did something else. I recorded once before the Pro Tour, once after the Pro Tour, and then now there's the ban list. So everything I say in it is still true. Fuck these cards. Fuck mono red aggro. It's fuck hopeless nightmare. Everything I say in this video is still gonna be 100% true, because this is just part of what made some of these decks degenerate, right? Mono red aggro got skewered a lot, but I mean, they still got Monastery Swiftspear, they still got Screaming Nemesis, they still have Heartfire Challenger. Hero's gone, but Heartfire Challenger is still there. They still got Turn Insight. They have a dozen different cards similar to Monstrous Rage. Rage just did it better than all of them, but they got a dozen cards like this. Corey Steelcutter was a big one though. This thing was this thing was annoying. So warning, I might use some of my own made up words because I'm not used to Magic jargon yet. I'll also be doing a lot of complaining, but there will be some praises and a couple of super helpful tips for new players coming into Magic from other games. And the tips will be like overall general in terms of Arena, and because of some things I wish I knew and what I should have spent my wild cards crafting, stuff like that, that I feel like super overlooked in other videos. Most people make videos, it's like assuming you can just like craft whatever you need. But I am 100% free to play in this game. Going to the store, despite being a beta tester and having this account since 2017, I have never once bought the Adventurer bundle, which is a one-time purchase bundle, which is decent value for how everything else is priced here. I just never felt like I needed to buy it, because I mean I was also deep into other games. I do have, I have 100 hours in Master Duel. That's on Steam alone though. Obviously Master Duel and Duel Links, you play it on your phone. You can't really gauge the metrics of these games via Steam because most people are just playing it on mobile or on their tablet. And then I also have Profile, the I don't know how to pronounce his name, Flip the one-eyed goblin, which is like he's popular in Magic, right? I have him as the avatar. I also have him, his card sleeve. I have two apparently. I found out just the other day that people were selling code cards for him for like $200, which is kind of crazy. I also have the OG Nomura art for Final Fantasy and Liliana before, like way before we even had any inkling of like the collab, the Final Fantasy collab, right? Now for Magic, I've been playing since only about 2015. I play it on and off, some table, mostly Arena, because locals are kind of stinky. Collecting physical card games and finding time to go to locals while having a full-time job in 2025, it's for a select few. Definitely for a select few, especially when you take into account like scalping and everything else, scarcity of products, especially with the Final Fantasy products. Some boxes go for like a new gaming computer or a PS5. Man, you can, yeah, like it's crazy out here. Other games I've played other than Magic though is primarily Yu-Gi-Oh. Most of my life. There's Pokemon, Cardfight Vanguard, and a little bit of Shadowverse. Alright, I'm here to mostly complain about Magic. I actually shot this video last week and planned to edit it, but then I found out that at the same time the Pro Tour in Vegas was happening for Magic's current standard format. And while most of what I feel about the current state of Magic, and not just Magic but also Yu-Gi-Oh, remains true in that video. I'll say it again because I might be splicing up these videos together. This script is way better than the last one I made though, so we'll see. A lot of my drafting was done in that last video, so if anything I'll use that as like the B-roll footage. And like this message will just account for any like awkward editing and skips. Alright, so the entire reason I actually made this video here, or decided to like go on this rant, is because of this one right here. Alright. The typical turn 3 in standard.
Well, the mana's good, so we can cast this lockdown. I bet it'll be too slow, but we'll try it. It's funny, but no. Did you come in a bet? Yes, you came at a terrible time. Get the hell out. You should be ashamed of yourself. Oh no. Oh, not Galta Reanimator. Oh no. Oh, show me the turn 4. Actually, turn 3. Show me the turn 3. Yeah. Yeah. That's standard, baby.
Yo, that's amazing, man. I'm not gonna lie, I got whiplash from watching that video for like the 6th time in a row. And honestly, after climbing through rank and arena, I cannot disagree with the video title either. Because if it's not some kind of cheesy combo win like this, it's mono aggro red. Right. Now, it's not exactly one comment, but a reply to it, right? And I can't disagree with this one either. Right? We're slowly approaching Yu-Gi-Oh levels of speed. It's not there yet, but it sure is getting there. Alright, between mono aggro red, mono aggro black, is it prowess, man? I take Magic to like take breaks from like the roller coaster that's Yu-Gi-Oh, right? Not get into the same nonsense. Like at this point, I think I may have joined Magic at like maybe it's Dawn Trail moment, right? You know, if Final Fantasy 14 and Dawn Trail hasn't really been in a good spot. And I feel like that's where I joined Magic. But like some people have found joy in playing Final Fantasy, even through Dawn Trail, right? There was one video I saw where it's like, I played Final Fantasy 14 at its quote-unquote worst point. But like, you know, it is what you make the most of it, right? Alright. We can reply to almost every comment here. There's a good point that's being made throughout all of it, right? But like this comment right here, this comment is what is what kind of like just started like this whole rant. Alright, having no mana cost is kind of absurd, but in Vintage, I think it's easy to play 50 cards in your full deck and win turn 1 if the combo deck you're playing is not stopped by a force of will. Yu-Gi-Oh! Is an eternal game. Comparing it with Magic Standard is ridiculous. Compare it with Legacy at least, and mostly Vintage. Ooh boy. Ooh boy. Alright, the first point. Having no mana cost. I don't know why everyone likes to bring this up when they compare card games, right? This whole land shenanigans, like, yes, Magic is the father of creating a resource in terms of land and mana to play your cards, right? At any time a card game comes out and there's some kind of resource to draw on to play a card, it comes back to Magic. But at the same time, it's like a complete double-edged sword, right? When it comes to resources, because there's nothing that feels worse in Magic than grinding out the game to like turn 20, wiping the board, and both players top decking, and you draw a land. Play, pass, and your opponent's the first one to draw a playable card and pop off on you, right? You build your deck with lands that aren't just basic lands like this Scry, Surveil, Discover, utility lands and stuff like that. You got lands that make tokens, draw, become a creature, lands that let you return spells from your graveyard back to your hand. You run those because you don't want to top deck something as useless as a basic land mid-game, right? But you know what? Most of those lands enter tap. You get too many early game and you get completely screwed, especially playing against mono aggro red or mono aggro black. And that shit just feels awful, man. Like you saw it in the video right here, right? He even said it himself. He's like, the land is good, but like it might be too slow.
The good, so we can cast this lockdown. I bet it'll be too slow, but we'll try it.
And unfortunately, when you mulligan in Magic, my first tip is that don't count on drawing that third land you need, right? If your deck curves at around 3 and you start with 2 lands, don't count on drawing that third land. Even if your land ratio is like, you know, the golden ratio of 23, 24, even 22 if you're playing like a more aggressive low curve deck, don't count on drawing that third land. Because getting landlocked or like mana screwed, it feels awful. Your opponent mana screwed but has every single out and wins with only 3 lands. That feels awful, my guy. That is one of the worst feelings here. I even have an example, right? Let's see. Let me pull it up right here. You can see from all this stuff that's just on the board, right? This is more like turn 20 something. My guy's got 7 cards in hand because he hasn't been able to play most of them. He only had 2 mana, 2 lands. By the time I took the screenshot, he got the third one out. What he did to just out everything that I threw down was just continuously bounce these cards right here. Discard my hand, make me sacrifice my own creatures. With only 2 lands, he was able to do this to me. And no matter what I threw out against him, he just had an answer for it. Yeah. And man, this game felt awful, dog. And just when I kept one thing in my hand, just because I didn't have a creature to target, bounced a Hopeless Nightmare. Got rid of it. Like, losing in Magic, in my honest opinion, feels probably the worst out of every card game I've played. Like, I get there's skill issue, especially in deck building and, you know, before play testing. I get that. I own that. I'm relatively new still, but like, I mean, I at least made it to plat too, right? So it's not like I don't think I'm horrible. In like maybe league terms, in terms of ranks, right? Until you like hit diamond, you're like you're pretty much considered garbage. When you hit diamond in like league, you're seen as you're maybe committed. You're maybe committed to the game. Challenger and grandmaster after that, you're good. But anything under diamond, pretty much the same as bronze in league. Yo, are we counting on the third mana draw? Yeah, we shouldn't. This would make a great example for the video though. Alright, my tip for anyone coming into Arena and want to stay like relatively free to play or spend very little is please invest your rare wildcards in lands, right? They're super important in like not just top decking a useless basic land mid to late game when you can really use anything but. Alright, the dual lands that come with an added effect that isn't just enter tapped are essential if you want to play more than one colors. Now, I know that crafting a third or fourth of a mythic creature or rare creature to complete the set that you think may make your deck more consistent, just trust me that if you craft it, you'll draw it while being mana screwed, and then you'll just be mad. One of the upsides to Magic is that there's a lot of lesser rarity cards that do things similar to Mythic cards. And Mythic cards just do it, as I hear people say, like in Magic, strictly better by being more efficient in terms of cost or offering multiple effects to choose from. You can play the non-Mythic version of that card, and it will be completely fine until you can get the wild cards to craft them. You'll accrue more resources faster and more efficiently with winning, obviously. And the first step to win is just to make sure that you have the necessary lands that you can use in any deck. And I suggest spending as many wild cards in getting your lands situated for any deck you want to play, whether it be a utility land for monocolor or dual lands. Get it done and you will not be disappointed in the long run. And if you ever pull those lands later, they'll just be converted to wild cards for you to use on spells, so you don't have to worry about that. Being able to play multicolors efficiently or not drawing into a useless basic land mid to late game is crucial in Magic. Alright, my second tip in Magic is never block with your opponent having 1 mana open unless you can respond to their buff spell. They'll never attack unless they can for sure keep their creature around, right? Especially against mono, aggro red, or black. What red will do is, the card that everyone is hoping is going to be banned really soon, right? Is Monstrous Rage. Alright, so what mono red does is when they attack with an open mana is that they're just waiting to run you over with Monstrous Rage on their Swift Spear Monastery, which gets prowess. So it gets a 1/1 counter on top of the 2/0 from Monstrous Rage. And then Monstrous Rage also gives a 1/1 creature roll token on top of that. And what happens in the end is that you would have blocked for nothing. Alright, now there are ways in Arena specifically to tell if your opponent has an instant that they can cast. And it's mostly in just like how the game checks to see when you pass the turn, right? A lot of what people like to do is, especially if they're playing like dual lands, dual colors, is they like to play their Fabled Passage down and on their opponent's turn sacrifice it to then search. Because if there's a slight delay in their opponent just getting it to resolve, then that tells you that they have something that they can respond with, right? If you're playing against red, it's most likely going to be a shock, which means that anything with 2 or less life that comes out is instantly getting shocked. If they got 2 mana open, anything less than 3 is also fair game. If you're playing against black, then it's probably going to get cut down. Alright, so don't ever really count on your 1 or 2 drops lasting till the next turn to trigger some kind of attacking effect, right? So aside from ramp, mana ramp, your 1 or 2 drops should have some kind of like ETB or upon entering the battlefield effect, so you can get some kind of advantage from it before it dies to either cut down or shock. So like, what do you mean Yu-Gi-Oh is an eternal game? Like, the lack of rotation, that means nothing, because let me tell you that anything printed like over 5 years ago in Yu-Gi-Oh is in like Yu-Gi-Oh speed terms, months, sets is pretty trash compared to whatever the current meta is. The decks and archetype and power creeps in Yu-Gi-Oh is exponential. Alright, so like a couple years ago, maybe like little less than 5. Alright, so around 5-ish years ago, some people found these old 15-plus-year-old cards like Appointer of the Red Lotus and Smoke Grenade of the Thief, and decided that they can tech it in to scat out their opponent's hand to play around hand traps, right? And people were just like, oh man, look at these modern players, these current players that found these 15-year-old cards. They found a use for them. It's crazy. Other cards that were made popular around that time is like Wave Motion Cannon. And let me tell you, nowadays, Pointer of Red Lotus, Smoke Grenade, banned. I haven't really heard of any decks using Wave Motion Cannon, but like the main reason that people used it when I was playing and hearing about it is they'll side it in for maybe round 2 or 3, and if time is called, they'll play it, right? It does 1,000 damage per counter on. When you're playing against the clock on time with only like maybe 5 or 6 turns to spare, that 1,000 damage is a lot. There were other decks that abuse spell counters at the current speed to maybe like 1 turn kill too, but as of late you'll hear nothing about when I stopped playing was around Yubel, Beansmith, White Forest, Dia Bellstar, and like you'll hear Team APS Paul say this a lot. Current meta decks are just so hyper optimized, so hyper consistent, right, that they don't really have room for other cards that don't do what their archetypal cards or staple cards do, but better. Unlike Magic, where you can probably get away with abusing some kind of combo with lesser known cards, you can't really do that in Yu-Gi-Oh, right? Because the older the sets get, the worse the cards are. Nowadays, cards need to at least have 2 effects. 1 coming in, 1 going out. The more the better. Like, you know, Yu-Gi-Oh's memed on for having like an essay in their effect box, right? Alright, so like, what do you mean Yu-Gi-Oh's an eternal game? Like, the lack of rotation? That means nothing, because let me tell you, anything printed over 5 years ago in Yu-Gi-Oh is pretty trash compared to whatever the current meta deck is. The deck and archetype power creep is exponential in Yu-Gi-Oh! And as of late, Konami, design-wise, has stepped away from all those effects that got cards like Appointer of the Red Lotus or Smoke Grenade of the Thief that were specifically used to see the opponent's hand to play around hand traps. They're either banned or they don't really make these kind of effects anymore, right? Gone are the days of the people finding out 15-year-old cards like those 2 and using it as a tech, because the card slots in these hyper optimized, hyper consistent decks are too precious for them to give up. Now, cards get banned or limited to 1 or 2 because they're just good, and Konami knows it. When they release these cards, right, they're selling a product after all. It doesn't matter to them that out of 100 cards that they release, they know they'll eventually have to limit or ban 1 or 2 cards. as long as the people are buying the products in some form. The toxic meta is just something that players will have to deal with for 3 to 4 months before the next ban list drops. Cards get banned or limited, they drop the next set, filled with the newest flavor of the month, rinse and repeat. Set rotation doesn't matter when out of 10,000 cards printed throughout the entire history of a game, only about 300 of them apply to the current meta. You go to any Yu-Gi-Oh event and you'll just find packs littered throughout the entire event space. Rares and super rares still in the packs because the amount of pack filler, quote unquote, and trash that Konami fills in a set is astounding. A regular set is around 100 cards, but you only have to worry about 20 cards at a time. People would just come up to a random group of strangers and just ask them anybody wants the ultra rare for free, because that shit's normally like $1. And they don't want to carry it with them. They don't want to throw it on the ground either, like half the other players that are there. The top end of Yu-Gi-Oh is like, I don't know what else to describe other than dire. Because out of 100 cards in a set, only like 5 cards are worth more than $5. Doubly so because the 5th card would be like $5 and the chase card would be like 100. You buy a booster box of Yu-Gi-Oh for like $80 and be lucky to get $20 back, because the secret rares can go for as little as $3 in past sets. Now, on the topic of set to format size, Magic's standard / modern set size is like 3,000 cards at a time. And unlike Yu-Gi-Oh, a good 75% of them are useful in some way or form. And doing research for Magic and looking up decks and builds, I'm getting videos with decks that are like, this deck just plays first in this mythic ranked tournament, and it plays 4 of these uncommon cards that I didn't even know existed. And climbing rank, I'm constantly getting hit with combos of cards that I didn't know exist, because like, how can I know when the pool is just this huge? There's another comment right here. It's like, this is with a very limited card pool. A very limited card pool? Dude, 3,000 cards is a lot. Right now, it's like the biggest set size, or standard set size, that are legal in standard / modern. We'll get to more of that later too. Obviously, it's not as busted as vintage, but it's still just as cheesy. The cheese ceiling in Magic is so high. In Yu-Gi-Oh, the archetype you play just denotes your personality, right? Your end board is pretty much the same in most decks. You got Omni Negates, you got your Floodgates, and they're normally on decently sized monsters. The threshold is normally like 2,500 to 4,000 attack. And you're going to have a hand trap or 2 left in your hand, maybe some face downs that also further disrupt your opponent or helps protect your monsters. Maybe even bring them back in case your opponent manages to break your board up a little bit so you can recover. But in Magic, the cheese ceiling is a skyscraper. And that skyscraper is made out of the stinkiest, moldiest cheese imaginable. And if you think blue cheese is like the worst of it, you should look up some of the cheeses they make in Europe. Now, I got an example of this too. Look at this. This guy ran a 200 card deck. 200 cards. I didn't even know you could bring 200 cards into standard. Like, how do people even pilot decks like this? Right? I built a deck that's 24 lands, 16 non-creatures, 20 creatures, and I'm mana screwed. I'm drawing no creatures. I'm drawing no outs. And I know a deck doesn't have to follow a formula, but even at its most balanced, I'm getting dogged, bro. I'm getting dogged by cheesy ass decks like this. And it's like, how do you counter this? Oh, but it's best of 1. I mean, you know, best of 1 is a completely different game when you can sideboard with best of 3. But like, how do I counter this? This is the equivalent to a 60 card pile in Yu-Gi-Oh. But like I said, in Yu-Gi-Oh, your end board is pretty much all the same throughout the archetypes. You'll pilot a 60 card monster pile deck, and you're still ending up with an Omni Negate, a Floodgate, a back row, some hand traps in your hand, some disruption. It's all the same end board. And the player that goes next is just meant to break that board with what they have. Games in Yu-Gi-Oh are normally over by either turn 3 or 4. And playing against mono aggro red, I think it's safe to say that Magic is there. And the worst part is, like, it's hard to describe it as a 1-to-1 because Magic has lands. So that forces a turn or two of just playing lands passing. Mono red obviously gets past that by having haste, right? But if they draw a good hand, it is still over by game turn 5, game turn 6, or their turn 3. You're normally not making it past turn 4 against mono aggro red unless you somehow drew every single out to them. Now, I know because it's best of 1 that they might have also had bad games too, but I can go through hours of stream footage where I'm just like getting really bad luck. And I'm watching people in Magic make these insane decks, right? And I'm just like, how do you run this? No 1 or 2 drops, all lands, no creatures, all spells. I don't normally net deck, right? I'm a free to play player, so when I look at decks, I'm just trying to get a feel of how it runs, the flow, the curve, maybe a win con, maybe a fun deck to play with. And it's just like it makes no sense to me. I mean, even if I could net deck, definitely can't pilot it. Like like my luck in Magic is so crazy. These people that run like all these crazy piles, man, I don't know how they do it. Brawl is only 60, right? I'm running 1 copy of Niv Mizzet. I'm drawing him, baby. I'm drawing him. First hand, drawing him. 60 card standard. White, red, equipment. I only have 1 copy of Aurelia, the war leader. And after a couple games of just constantly getting her in my first hand, I'm like, am I getting fucked with? So I started taking screenshots, right? Well, it's more like phone phone pictures because I had switched keyboards and I'm using a compact one that doesn't have pin screen. I gotta clean my other one and get it back up and running. 60 cards. I only have 1 copy of her. She's a mythic, right? And you know, at 6 mana, you'd only want to run 1 of her. You know, when you do draw her later, she'll help you win games. But you don't need her in your starting hand. I don't need her here, but I'm getting her. Look, not once, not twice, not even 3 times, 4 times. And this is just including the times that I remember to take a picture, right? One out of 60. I don't know what it is about the arena shuffler, but my god, it hates me, bro. But yeah, like a lot of the other card games generally follow formula in terms of deck building, right? You see it in the structure or starter decks that they create. Like, sure, some archetypes heavily deviate. In Yu-Gi-Oh, you have super heavy samurais that need no spells or traps in your graveyard in order to activate effects. So you can pilot a deck of 40 something monsters of all super heavy samurais and be okay. Spell books in Yu-Gi-Oh use both monsters and spells, but mostly rely on their spells and a few core monsters. Trap Tricks uses traps. Paleozoic, all trap cards that turn into monsters. Labyrinth monsters, mostly fiends that pulls trap cards from your deck. They are intuitive to use, and if you follow their deck building structure, you're gonna be fine for the most part. But you go up against some of the nastiest stuff in Magic, and like I said, it feels awful, just the worst comparatively to every other card game. Sitting there wondering why your deck, despite looking an awful lot like other decks you see people run, just isn't working, and this opponent just pulling off some of the most consistent combos is crazy. If you see a guy open Fabled Passage turn 1 into a full art land you've never seen before, you're cooked, bro. Craziest part is, right? Out of all the decks you can make, all of the sets that are currently legal, the pool of cards you have, the deck, the most played deck, and the deck that won the Pro Tour last weekend was Mono Aggro Red, followed by Is It Prowess, which runs red. and these people play tested the most. They have the most access to card resources. And these are the two decks, the two godforsaken decks that are the most popular. And like a little history with me against these decks, right, is every time I came back to Magic in 2017, 2020, 2022, and decided to climb the ladder just so I can collect a little bit of reward, you know, do my dailies, maybe get a few drafts in. Every single time I came back to Magic, it was the exact same deck and the exact same cards that made me rage. Monastery Swiftspear, Monstrous Rage, and it somehow got worse. We got Corey Steelcutter turned inside out, freaking Emberheart Challenger. Oh, but the set rotation is coming soon. We'll get 12 sets back down to 8 or whatever. That's still about like 2,000 cards. And the worst part is the meta decks we're all annoyed with will barely be affected. Yeah, right here. Comparing it with Magic. Compare it with Magic Standard is ridiculous. Compare it with Legacy at least, and mostly Vintage.
Yes.
At these Drake Catchers, we're looking at VV, we're looking at these bigger cards that are trying to definitely drag the game out a little bit longer. Now, some of these removal spells that is going to be assuredly coming in after those first two games, trying to, you know, just attack as fast as possible, get Ian dead.
Yo, between this is the final match. 5 hours, 49 minutes.
Been waiting a bit now. Ian leading out with a tap land here, but Ken on the play, absolutely huge here.
Wins
so much damage. Ian already down to
at 6:16. 27 minutes. Final match. Mono Aggro Red versus Is It Prowess. I mean, the comment section says it all. Like, look at the top. I wonder if it is the top, the same comment, right? Yeah, it is. So the largest number of standard sets in history from this incredibly diverse assortment. The winning formula is Mono Red. Never saw it coming. Comparing it with Magic Standard is ridiculous. Compare it with Legacy at least, or mostly Vintage. Now that says enough about that. Alright, this next part is going to be mostly negative. A huge criticism of Reno in here, but there will be some positives later, right? Let's talk about the monetization. Complete and utter garbage. Look at these caps. Whether it's daily or weekly, this is just like completely unacceptable. 15 wins a day, and like the top, like the first like 3 or 4 wins is front loaded. You'll get your most amount of gold out of like 750 gold. You'll get like 450 in your first 4 wins, and the rest you'll get like 25, 50 gold and a couple of random ass commons and uncommons, right? 15 wins towards your battle pass exp. 15 wins a day, you get the max amount of rewards for that day, plus 1 quest that rewards either 500 gold or 750 gold. So daily you can get around 1250 or 1500 gold, 250 XP, and 6 random shitty cards. Not even from the newest set. This makes even the stingiest gacha game cringe at the trickle of rewards that you get for playing daily. The battle pass is also one of the worst battle pass I've ever seen in a game. Usually with the battle pass, you get either almost enough premium currency to get the next battle pass, the next month or next season, or it falls slightly, but the return premium currency is the same as if buying the premium currency straight up, right? But with the battle pass, given a ton of extra in-game bonuses, right? 3,400 gems for the battle pass with only 1,200 gems back on the paid track. 20 packs, and it's a variety of packs here. Not even from the newest ones. Not even from the 2 newest ones. Like, you get some of them from the 2 newest ones, but it goes like a couple sets back for like no reason, right? If I complete the entire battle pass, I'll get it. But only because it's the Final Fantasy one. Otherwise, the value is just so bad. The value is good if you compare it to what just Wizards offer in Magic Arena. But like compared to every other game battle pass, their battle pass is garbage, straight doo-doo. I did 10 mythic packs of Final Fantasy when it came out. And let me tell you, from this one you'd be like, oh, he likes playing white. No, I don't like playing white. I like playing black the most. But Arena loves just throwing me colors that I hate the most, right? And look at this, 2 whites and then more things that use white, right? I resigned myself to playing Una. I use most of my crafting materials to make a Una deck. Right? White and green. My favorite colors are black, blue, red, green, and then white. And you know, look at what Arena gives me. The cheese here is so good. The cheese. All right, Yu-Gi-Oh. Oh man, you don't have to pay any cost. You don't have any worry about mana, land to play cards. That's kind of crazy. Everything's kind of turbo. Okay, but like the infinite in Magic is infinite. There's a couple like infinite loops in Yu-Gi-Oh. All of them get banned like instantly. Whatever next ban list comes out, which is like every 3-4 months when a ban list comes out, the loop is gone. You know, someone does come out with the loop because they figured out some kind of interaction that Konami and their playtesters didn't account for. It's rare, but it gets banned instantly. In Magic, most decks rely on some kind of combo to just pull out something crazy, right? Here's another example, man. Like, I'm fucking landlocked. He's only got 5 land. I'm at 3. He's got 5. I'm landlocked. Look at what he did to me. look at what he did to me. When it feels bad, it feels bad. And like, look at this. The exact opposite. This guy's locked at 3, but he had every answer to everything I had. He had every single answer, right? This time I'm also locked at 3, but you know, I'm getting fucked here. You know, I spent a lot of time bashing Magic, but like, I'm gonna continue to play because like Magic encompasses a lot of what Yu-Gi-Oh lost, right? These fucking grind games. Look at these. I made a little video about this. It is pictured through phone camera, because my NVIDIA overlay was not working. And like, I was a little tilted. I was just snapping these pictures on my camera. I didn't think I was gonna win, but when I did, I made a video about it. Like, look at this foreshadowing by Nibelheim of Flame, right? What is this? 14 cards left in deck. A third of your consoles is one of the most infuriating white drop ever. But if you can, in my recycling bin, I have a screenshot where I throw down Authority of Councils, right? Let me see. Sorry, let's see if I can just take it out. Yeah, this one right here. This one right here. Authority of Council. I threw mine out. He instantly removed it, right? It is a skill issue. Look. It is a skill issue. If anybody wants to like go into the comments and like just school me, go ahead. Feel free. Just don't be toxic, right? You know, but Authority Council is one of the most infuriating one drop white drop ever. And of course, you know, I had to use my removals on other things. I was locked in. I took these phone picks haphazardly, right? 14 cards left against blue white mill. And of course, you know, when he finally got a creature out, it was a flying creature, dude. I was so tilted, bro. I was so tilted. One card left in deck. 0 cards left. Bro. Whew. I managed to grind this game out to 4 life versus 1 removal. Played through Authority of Council. He conceded, but man, like, bro, that was a good game. This is why I play Magic, despite all the complaining I did in this video. This is why I play Magic. These games, bro, the back and forth, the grinding. Like, even if I had lot, I mean, I was mad at the time. I will say I wouldn't have been mad, but like in these games, even this stream that I did today, there was a couple games where, you know, I wasn't mad that I lost because like we went back and forth, and you know I just got outplayed. Like, that's what you don't get in Yu-Gi-Oh anymore. It's just you build the board, you build the Omni Negates, you build the floodgates. Second player tries to break through it, and you know whoever breaks through it basically wins. If you can break through it, and you won. If you can't break through it, next person tries to break through it through your board. If you somehow was able to play across their interruptions and set up a board of your own, the other person will try to break it. If they don't, it's probably game, because like these boards not only consist of interrupts and omni gates, floodgates, aka counter cards on a body in Yu-Gi-Oh, in Magic terms, right? Those bodies also have pretty big attacks, and like most of the time people will just scoop. There's very famous videos, nationals, world championships, where after a couple of turns, even though it's the final match of the whole tournament, nationals or world championship, after a couple cards, they'll just concede and it's GG. I am gonna play a clip here where where I'm about to win and this guy just fucking stalls me out in draft, and it's crazy. I found it extremely amusing, infuriating and amusing. You know, it's mildly infuriating. This is just like that just like that Reddit subreddit, right? But yeah, I mean, I'm gonna continue to play Magic, continue to be better. Despite Shadowverse having released. And you know, despite everything, I'm gonna continue to try to get better. But man, when they have. But man, like I said, in Magic, everything's exponential. When you get snowballed, it's you want to fucking break your desk. Like, it's the same. It's not there yet as like a League rage. I don't play League anymore. It's not there yet, but but it's close, because it feels horrible, and it feels the worst out of every single other card game I've ever played. And when it's good, it's good, but when it's bad, bro, it snowballs. And I get that a lot of these are just best of ones, and these same people could have also, you know, also went through a couple of bad games, but like the cheese in Magic is exponential. The skill ceiling is a skyscraper, because not only do you have to have the resources, you have to have the knowledge and the IQ, and like just net decking, net decking in any card game isn't enough, right? Because even if you follow the standard formula of a deck, let's say Pokemon, there's you open up a starter deck, 20 something Pokemon, 20 something energies, 20 something trainers, gets you to around 60 cards. And then you add and subtract depending on like what your win conditions are. In Magic though, it doesn't matter. Some decks have 0 lands. Some decks are all lands. Some decks are all spells. Some decks are all creatures. Some decks are 200 cards piles, and it makes no sense. Yu-Gi-Oh had that phase too, where we were doing 60 card piles, but like the bigger picture made sense, because in Yu-Gi-Oh your extra deck, you know, the toolbox was all the same, the end boards all the same. How you get there just differs because your personality and play style is different. In Magic, the end board is all different. The combos and the knowledge you need to pull things off, to know what synergizes with what, along with the resource, is, oh man, it's a grind. It's enormous. Like, man, I'm gonna keep playing though. If anybody wants to tell me how to get better, recommend me some channels, please do. I have watched a couple of this channel. As it's not in here. The screenshot is in here. Reminder text. He's a really cool channel. The only problem is that the decks he build, theoretically, all looks good. He says they're good. I would never be able to run those decks. Yeah, he's playing like fucking commanders with every creature and spells being like mana curve 4 and higher, nothing under 3 except his commanders. I could never do that. As you can tell from some of my pictures, right? I could never do that. I'm getting landlocked turn 3, turn 4. My commander isn't lasting to help me ramp or anything. I should have outplayed it. Yeah, I mean, he should have. You know, some people just have the answer to everything. The screenshots that I showed, you know, people just have answers to everything, and they just draw perfectly. All right.